This week I want to talk to you about the technical inspections that are mandatory in many countries. Every car must undergo this after a certain amount of time. On one hand, it is good that we have them. When you look at vehicles in some countries who do not test, one should be very glad indeed. On the other hand, some other countries have gone a bit overboard, making the test a lengthy, bureaucratic and complicated process, where cars are being failed for trivial details and where it sometimes is even in the interest of the testing stations to fail cars. These are problems that lead to a lot of irritation and frustration, something we very much can do without. But let's get back to basics. What is the purpose of these tests? It is just to ensure that there are no unsafe cars on the road. Nothing more and nothing less. Tires, lights, suspension, metal integrity, brakes, mirrors and steering just must work properly. Possibly registration checks and mileage could be monitored to deter criminal activity, but that is all. That means that whether someone has a slightly different tire size on his or her car, this will not affect road safety. The same goes for a different exhaust, extra lights, or for instance stronger brakes. All that matters is the safety of the vehicle so that it does not endanger, especially other road users. Checking these things on a car can be done in minutes, but often takes half an hour. The result is an absolute lack of capacity. This effect is further amplified by the fact that vehicles are being reviewed that intrinsically always pass. If for instance a car has driven less than 10,000 miles since its last inspection, let's say 2 years ago, visually going over this car should be enough to determine whether it needs further scrutiny or not. And have you ever seen a motorbike in poor technical condition? Riding something like that would equal suicide, so motorbikes are always in very good shape. And why are vintage cars being inspected or expensive enthusiast cars? Does the government really think a $500,000 Ferrari will ever be in poor condition? The police have less work taking the few exceptions off the road than inspection stations checking thousands of vehicles at some point in time. Ending mandatory inspection for these groups would free up a lot of capacity. It works in other countries, so why not everywhere? A second step, in case the government insists on centralized inspection stations, should be to redesign the inspection itself. Everyone knows Henry Ford is the founder of the Ford Motor Company, where he built 15 million Model T cars between 1918 and 1927. But has that been his real contribution to society? Or was it the assembly line that made this enormous number of cars possible? Why don't we learn from history and set up our inspection stations in the same way? 5 stops with an equal amount of workers, where each one does one specific job, should be enough. These workers do not even have to be trained mechanics. If there is a problem with a particular car, it is examined by specialists parallel to the production line. This allows the line to always continue. Cars that do not pass the tests will either get a 2-week temporarily approval to get the issues fixed, or the license plates will get revoked when the issues are too severe. Working like this means that 95% of the cars that meet the requirements can be finished within 3 minutes. After all, people will not let their cars being tested when they know that the car will most likely not pass. An additional advantage is that productivity objectives can be set so that the performance of inspection stations can be compared. But do we really need all of this? In some countries, any car repair shop, big or small, can do the inspections, and when there is a problem with the car, simply solve it on the spot. This means that the number of stations is very high indeed and capacity problems are non-existent. Obviously, a hybrid form with specialized inspection stations existing next to licensed car repair shops is also a possibility. The checking mechanism is very simple. Once the company/worker has completed the technical check, they enter it into the central database and wait for a response. The first response may be a simple "okay," but the second is wait on site until the inspection technicians arrive. And these government workers will then check to see if the company's technician cheated during the inspection. This system is very simple, very effective, and eliminates a lot of corruption potential. Moreover, it is very customer-friendly for motorists. The bottom line is that in many countries the periodic inspection is now far too complicated, bureaucratic, time-consuming, and this needs to change. Having a car inspected should be as easy and quick as going for gas. It doesn't seem like rocket science to me. I hope this video helps. Please hit the subscribe button and see you soon.